So we've finally done it, Dan. We've reached a pinnacle.
Yeah.
We have figured out a way to do the podcast in Asia with no background noises.
You sure you don't want me to turn on the TV?
Hey, podcast listener, even if you are alone in your entrepreneurial pursuit, know that today, right now in your earbuds, you are joined by thousands of entrepreneurs all around the globe seeking to do the same thing you are. If you want to know more about this program or this podcast, or want to get barraged by a lot of annoying pop-ups, check out our website, lifestylebusinesspodcast.com.
Yeah, buddy, from our Thursday morning to yours, it's the Lifestyle Business Podcast. Today, we are in Bangkok, Thailand, the world capital of digital nomadism and 4-hour workweek fanaticism. I am here with the captain, my co-host, a man who puts the power into PowerPoint.
All right.
Yeah, buddy. All right, so we got a lot of news to talk about. Let's not talk about it too long.
One thing I like about this weekend, so we did the DCBKK. It was...
All right, so it's our annual meetup for all Dynamite Circle members, of which there are 400 members, and over 70 came to Bangkok. What's the conversion? Are you good at maths?
Not on the fly, especially not at the end of the weekend. We had an amazing weekend. Every time I met somebody, my brain was essentially on the wall, and I think a lot of people felt this way. I was just a walking zombie. I looked around the room. Everyone was on the edge of their seat, and even at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, at the end of each day of the conference, I thought that was really cool.
We went an hour and a half late both days.
One of the other benefits is you're talking all week, and so, or you're talking all weekend, and now I have a good radio voice from that.
You got that gruff,
yeah,
low bassy tone. Derek Sivers tore the paint off the wall on Saturday evening. I mean, he was insane. Like what he shared in front of everybody. I mean, there was shining eyes for the rest of the weekend because of what he did for our group. So big shout to Derek if you're listening
Yes,
tonight.
Thank you so much, Derek.
I just want to give a huge thanks also to Simon Black, one of my blogging heroes, who came and gave an amazing, thought-provoking presentation. If you all don't read, sovereignman.com. It's one of the best blogs in the business. And I mean, Simon just knows his shit.
Absolutely, man. And Simon and Derek, along with a lot of other people that spoke at the conference this weekend, thank you so much, everybody. You made this a really special event for us. And the speakers were just phenomenal, man. Everybody really put a lot of heart into it, did a lot of thinking, and it just came out, I think, a great event for everyone.
And the cool thing about the speakers is that they came from like the top echelon of our own community. So it was like a lot of the people that were the most valuable in the forum were the people that we invited to speak. So guys like Brendan Tully, Ian Borders crushed it. Of course, Chris Ducker was amazing. He kicked us off with tons of energy, tons of laughs, and a really in-depth narrative story of some stuff that he doesn't share in public. I mean, it was really, really cool. Joe and Justin from the AdSense Flippers, Matt, Alex, and Travis doing some Einstein jams when it came to SEO. In fact, we're going to have Travis on the program today. So I just want to give a huge thanks to all of our speakers, all the attendees, everybody who made it possible, and to Rob Walling for coming onto the LBP a few weeks back and educating us and giving us some resources to run the event.
Make us not look like idiots. Thank you, Rob.
A lot of people said with this event, I think, and this is something to think about in your marketing too, is that they had such low expectations because it was Dan and Ian in Bangkok. So like everybody, they were like, look, it's cheap, right? So they read the writing on the wall. They were like, Dan, Ian, Bangkok. Well, it's cheap, so I'll go, but I'm not gonna expect much.
They're like, what are you guys doing at the A-Loft? I thought your meetups usually happen at the pub across the street.
Yeah.
Are you sure you guys didn't make a mistake?
We thought it was gonna be a whiteboard and an Irish bar. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Rob. And one other interesting thing that came up during the event is it was the first time that we've spoken in front of people. Like it was pretty nerve-wracking, right?
Yeah.
What did you learn through that experience?
Oh, geez, that it takes a lot of time. I mean, a lot of time. I sat in my room pretty much all weekend preparing, and to tell you the truth, I was preparing what I was going to say for about 2 weeks. I mean, went through several drafts. You and I did rehearsals in front of each other. It's a really unique skill, and I really respect people that can do it. It's not easy at all to have cohesive thoughts.
You can see the boss
have them
men,
translate.
like Chris and Brendan and Derek and Simon, like these guys that are used to speaking to rooms, like they're just so awesome at it. And it's such a nuts skill set to be good at, right? One of the things we're pitching people, you got to start a podcast, you got to start doing content marketing and stuff. It's like, it's so high level to be a good communicator. And I think we faced that face to face with these speeches, just how difficult it was to sort of keep people captivated for 40 minutes. And a big ups to a lot of our speakers were first time speakers, and they were amazing. Like Ian Border's speech, like literally people were tweeting like, I would have flown here just to see. I mean, I don't even know, we can't even talk what he talked about, but that guy has been an incredible member of the group. So thanks Ian as well. Anyway, enough rambling on about DCBKK. Probably one of the most memorable weekends I've had in my entire life. So I gotta take a little time to gush about on the show, but we are definitely doing it next year. Definitely.
Same bad time, same bad place, I think.
Yeah, and what's the business maxim? If it scares the bejesus out of you, maybe you should be doing that. That's something Derek Sivers was telling us, and it definitely scared us to speak in front of 80 people, 70 people, and it definitely scared us to throw an event like this, and we did it, and it was a good time.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got 2 new iTunes reviews this week. Greg C says 5 stars, pretty good. And Rex Web Design says, I can't get enough. 5 stars. Dan and Ian are my guilty pleasure.
Shucks.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Definitely frozen yogurt.
I like those chocolate bars at the 7-Eleven. All right, guys. Here's what we've got on store for you today. One of the most popular episodes of all time on the Lifestyle Business Podcast was our aggressive SEO techniques episode with Travis Jamison. I can totally vouch for this guy. We work closely together on a lot of our web properties. Some stuff we're not talking about so much on the LBP directly, but we're going to try to get as many actionable tips in front of you guys so that you can apply some of these advanced tactics. This is going to be real nerdy. So if you're not into SEO, this really isn't your episode. You should click over to Startups for the Rest of Us, or AdSense Flippers, or NPR, or Fresh Air with Terry Gross, or this is for the real SEO nerds.
The other thing to note about this, and this is something that Matt Newton said during his SEO presentation. He said basically take this stuff with a grain of salt, because we had 3 different guys speaking on SEO as a panel at DCBKK, and each one of them had a very different approach. And so that tells you how much information's out there, and how you guys have to make your own decisions about this stuff and how you're going to roll.
It's all risk. Right? So you have to have a risk calculation in everything that you do. There's a cost to some of these strategies,
right?
In particular, using some of Travis's strategies. And we talk about that pretty bluntly in this episode. So what do you say we get on to it?
Yep, no right answers here.
So Travis, you were a part of the SEO panel here at the BKK event. How was it for you?
It was absolutely wonderful. In a way, we each had 3 separate opinions on stuff, but it all came together to form the same. I don't know how to describe it, but our methods are different, but we're reaching the same goal.
Yeah,
it was like that's exactly what happened.
Science on the one hand, white hat on the other hand, and then you just came up there and you're like, here's how you spam. We're not going to talk about spam too much today, though, right?
No. The legitimate stuff.
We're going to talk with the legitimate stuff, but I really enjoyed your presentation, so thank you for taking the time to prepare that for the group. I know I saw a lot of feverishly scribbling DCers, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's no one way to go about this stuff. I think that's what was so cool about the panel, is everybody brought up a different perspective, and it's the kind of perspectives you hate, too, because they're like, this is what I'm doing, but I don't know if it's going to work for you. It's like, oh, man, there's no clear answers with this stuff.
Well, the other cool thing is that everybody showed examples of real sites, which was bomb. In fact, Travis, for those of you that weren't there, actually outranked us for our own product key terms with a brand new website to demonstrate how to put up a site fast. That was pretty funny.
In 2 weeks.
And you donated the site to me for my birthday, so thank you, man. I appreciate that. We're going to go over the strategies that you use for that, but first I want to start off the episode with what's not working, because there's been a lot of crap going down in the Google sphere. So let's talk about what's not working. Number 1, unnatural anchor text profiles. Man, we got slammed on this, because even I used to tell this to everybody, it makes so much sense now in retrospect. I mean, one of the things Matt Newton said, I love that guy, Matt Newton, he's so smart. He's always saying, anticipate.
Yeah.
And I was always like, yeah, well, this always makes sense. Just if you have a coffee website, make sure everybody that links to you links to coffee, And of course, we just got slammed on that. So what do we do now? How do we adjust to this update?
The biggest thing, if you can take anything away from this episode, it's to not have an unnatural anchor text link profile. So the way it was set up is the Google Penguin update. It's simple when we look back. If I send you a link, because I'm somewhat techie, I will create a hyperlink and drop it in there.
Right.
But if my parents send a link to somebody, they're just going to drop the regular URL in there, and that's how most natural sites look. They don't have these keywords attached to it.
Right. So what you're saying here is, like, for most people that use the internet, they don't hyperlink to the word cat furniture. They just say cat furniture, and then they throw the link in there.
Exactly. And then if people do use the anchor text keywords, they're not going to use the same one every time. You're not going to get the whole world to come together to magically give you these keywords. It's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff linking to your site.
So those of you who aren't total SEO nerds, if you were to look at our cat furniture website 6 months ago, the links pointing to it, like 50% of them were like cat furniture, right?
Yeah.
And what you're saying basically is that's ridiculous. In no real world does that happen. But here's what I love about this. Your response to this is to regame the system, because now you've got these lists of, quote, natural. So what's natural? What does it look like?
I use keyword generators to spit out tons and tons of different anchor text. Some of them 300 lists of stuff, and to go through building links using these. But the most important part of all that is to use 40 to even up to 50% of your links to not have a keyword attached to it. Just your naked link, because that's how natural sites look, or a lot of natural sites. And it's working very, very well for me. No penalties. I didn't have a single penalty in this last update except for one old spam site.
Cool. All right. Number 2 thing that's not working: exact match domains with thin content.
Yeah. I don't have a magical answer for this. I don't know exactly how this update works. I can't tell you how to bring it back necessarily. But the thin content sites have to go.
Now define thin content for us.
So I look at these bad AdSense based sites that have like 3 articles on it and nothing else based on the keyword, and they just got absolutely slammed. Google did a good job with the update. Now they also had some like legitimate sites get hit just because their domain name happened to be an exact match. But
I mean, in the future, if I want to put up a website called YetiMicrophone.org, is that still a good idea if I want to build that out as an authority site? Does this have implications for authority sites, or is this just having to do with the thin content plus the exact match?
I don't have a good answer, and I don't want to lie to you and say that I do. I base my sites off of brand names now, make them brandable, and you can rank them just as easily now. I just think the exact match domain update more or less took away the extra points exact match domain.
So it's kind of like 2 years ago, it was like this no-brainer. If you were, you wouldn't even buy a brand. Instead, you'd buy a brand and you'd stash it, and then you'd build your whole website around, my product name, .com or whatever. And I guess in retrospect, that looks so obvious. Like, why would an intelligent algorithm really adjust for that factor over and above other stuff? So what you're basically saying is it's sort of coming back down into evening out a little bit.
What I like about this, was it you, Travis, that did the pie chart? I can't remember up on the screen. And so maybe you can talk about this a little bit, but it's basically like if EMD, exact domain match, was a big part of the pie, now it's just a smaller part of the pie, and that kind of juice got redistributed in other places.
Exactly. Exact match domains used to have such a big bonus point to them to help you rank. They just don't anymore. But some good sites did actually seem to get penalized from it. So there's not a clear-cut answer. But I would still build them, I guess, but don't even think about doing a thin site like that.
You would do almost anything, and I've seen it. All right, number 3 thing. This is a little bit of you predicting the future. You're saying no more bulk social likes. And again, this sort of seems obvious too, right? But you haven't been cracked for this one yet.
Yeah, well, the bulk social bookmarks, not likes.
Okay.
So if you look at legitimate social bookmark sites, there's only 10 or 20 that real people actually use.
You mean like Dig?
Dig, stuff like that. Reddit.
Does anybody use Dig?
Supposedly.
Travis Jamison uses
absolutely. But there's a lot of these services saying, "Oh, we'll give you 1,000 social bookmarks." Social makes you look normal to Google. These are not natural whatsoever.
Right.
No one except spammers use these, and I can see very quickly them being completely devalued.
And one more thing that you're saying is not working anymore. Blog comments. That was part of our SEO process. That's not working for you anymore.
Yeah. This is a personal thing. There's no data backing this up, but I have not seen any good results from blog comments lately at all, high PR or regular.
Okay.
Interesting.
So let's turn the conversation into the money zone here, and really, I want to focus. Be clear that a lot of the tactics we're going to talk about on this episode are for people who are in seek and destroy mode, for people who are competent about SEO, and people who want to get aggressive with their sites, like we wanted to do with our portable bar company, for example. It was a really cool opportunity meeting you because we took a site from zero to hero in like 2 weeks, sold out our first inventory of portable bars, and then 301 redirected. We're going to talk about how they all do this stuff. But this is a cool opportunity. This is not an opportunity for people that have an incumbent authority site that ranks. The second thing I want to stress here is that I was just looking at Travis's rankings in his, was it Raven Tools or what we were looking at there?
SERPFox.
We were looking at SERPFox, and this stuff's legit. This stuff's working on high ranking, high traffic key terms. So without further ado, let's talk about what's working. Long tail optimization. You talk a ton about the long tail. So how are you going in and getting more traffic and more sales by optimizing your long tails?
All right, so I look at long tails as an easy win. Most people build a site, they're like, all right, this is my niche. They go to Google keyword tool, and they find the keyword that has the most traffic for that and start building links for that.
Let's say it's for car insurance.
Car insurance is a perfect example. And maybe you might get there one day, but you're going to have to put so much effort into it. It'll be a long time. What if the algorithm changes? You get penalized again. There's a million different factors. But there's a lot of easy wins, which are the long tails. And the method I've been using is going through and finding keywords that have maybe 10 searches a day, maybe even 2 searches a day. Stuff that most SEOers would never even dream about targeting. But you can rank for it very easily.
How do you do this as a system, though? Because you're talking about trying to do 100, rankings, trying to manage that process rather than managing just the car insurance.
Well, there are all kinds of long tail tools that can do it. If I'm building an authority site, which is what I do most of the time now, I do it manually. Just go through and pick them out. Or I still use Marcus Samurai. I'm getting old, obviously, and still using that. But it works well for me for this purpose. Go through and analyze those and pick out, a keyword that's getting 2 searches a day, we'll say. You send 1 or 2 links to that with an optimized site, and you'll rank for it very easily. Do that with 100 different keywords. You're looking at some serious traffic. Look at 1,000. That's tons of traffic. Very easy wins.
This is actually part of our strategy. We've been using this for a long time, and I think it's interesting because when you look at a term like car insurance, you think, well, like you said, that's a really aggressive goal to go after car insurance and to be number 1 for it. But if you look at something like car insurance for a 2013 Mustang GT,
exactly,
that person's pretty qualified, right? And that's a money key term, and that's something we're going to talk about here in a minute. And it's really targeted, and we've seen great results with this because most of the people searching for such a specific long tail key term are actually ready to buy. So your conversion rate on something like that could be huge, like maybe over 50% even.
And the way the graph on the long tail works is that the head of the beast, right, that equals the tail. It's the same, right? Yeah. And so if you're getting 50-50 theoretically, right, well, where would you prefer? Would you prefer to rank number 1 for car insurance or rank number 1 for 100 little tiny key terms? You're getting the same amount of traffic either way. Ian could be right. You're getting more conversions on the long tail and you're diversified. What happens if your car insurance ranking goes away?
Yeah, exactly. These last updates, most people that got hit were just for their main keywords. A lot of their long tails would still rank just fine. If you just focus on those exclusively, or at least the main part of it, you're really protecting yourself a lot more.
Question. Are you targeting, so let's say I have a website with 25 pieces of content on it. It's for car insurance. Are you building links to that main homepage to have the main homepage rank for these? Or are you actually putting up a unique piece of content targeted at that long tail?
I use unique piece of content for each one. Well, more categories. So you take your main keyword and then you break that down into the top subcategories of that keyword that gets legitimate traffic. So anything with like 3,000 a month or something like that's good. And then I break those down to the individual long tails even further, the tiny keywords, and optimize for that.
And how much are you paying for each piece of content on one of your authority sites nowadays?
If it's for a legitimate money page, I pay about, what is it? I think $5 per 100 words. If I'm using for just some feeder sites, maybe $2 to $3 per 100 words. I used to use crappy content and it just doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love, by the way, your attitude about this. And I think this is one of the things that was most refreshing. People came up to me after your talk and was like, you play websites almost like they're chess pieces. You like move around each parts around the board. And I think, from guys like Ian and I who are more traditional business guys, more brand builders, it's so cool to hear about this from you. And it's kind of like a new trick up our sleeve that we can deploy from time to time. All right. Speaking of tricks, number 2, we want to talk a little bit about private link networks, because both you and I own private link networks and have customers. And get this, some of our customers that are continuing to pay us recurring subscriptions have come back to us in the past few months and asked for more subscriptions. What's going on? Everybody's saying Google's going to kill these things. My customers are coming back and saying, hey, I want to pay you more money.
Absolutely. Everything still works. And the big thing is all different link sources still work. People are saying to stay away from networks. People are saying this and that. It does still work, but you got to be smart about it. You have to diversify.
Right. Because what's happening, right, is everybody goes out and they get all these natural links from everybody else, and then they get this awesome link network. It's like cat furniture, cat furniture,
Yeah.
cat furniture, cat furniture.
Yeah. The perfect example is when Build My Rank was still up and running. Somebody would put up a page, get nothing but Build My Rank links, and they would rank well. But then Google comes in and devalues those, and everything's gone. But if you're using 10 different link sources, social bookmarks, wikis, blog posts, Web 2.0s, private networks, even blog comments, even though I don't really use them, Google comes in, devalues something. It's like, oh, well, there's 10% of my portfolio. Not a big deal. You might not even notice at all.
That's a great distinction that Matt Newton made that we might want to pause on a little bit, which is the difference between penalizing, devaluing, right? There's a difference between the two.
It's the same thing as the pie, right? So it's like if you're penalized, you take a piece of the pie out. We're not taking any pieces of the pie out. We're just making them smaller.
Right. So that was an interesting concept for me, is thinking like, hey, it's not like exact match domains means you're dead and gone forever. It just means that that's not that important anymore.
Exactly.
All right. So what else is working? Actually, I want to talk a little bit about this website that you had ranking for our product key terms in 2 weeks. How do you do that? How do you set up a website that's ranking for like marquee key terms in less than a month?
First of all, we had no idea you were building this website. Travis, he got on stage at BKK DC, and then he pulls up this website, and he's like, guess what, guys? I'm outranking you, and it only took 2 weeks. We're like, what?
This is a feeder website, which is what I'm doing a lot more.
Now describe what that means.
All right, so everybody's worried to backlink to their brand website now, and I understand that. I'm moving towards that more as well.
So you mean like going out to these private link networks and going out to all these social sharing sites and just pumping links into your main domain? You wouldn't recommend that I do that for Portable Bar Company, for example?
No. I mean, if you'd asked me a year ago, I'd say yeah, absolutely. But things change. You got to stay with it. Everybody should be building a brand, and when you do that, you got to put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it to make it legitimate. So you don't want to send links there. So the links you do send, you want to be completely legitimate. Well, let's say you're in an industry that doesn't have a lot of stuff you can get real links from. Create them yourself, which is what I've been doing. So I take building out feeder sites where like mini sites basically in the niche, and create the content based on that. And this serves 2 purposes. One, you can link to your actual brand from that, and that's a very relevant, legitimate link. But more importantly, you can advertise for your brand on these feeder sites.
This is really important, especially for guys like us doing B2B. Nobody's talking about our products anywhere on the internet. Our guys that are buying our products, they're not talking about this stuff on websites and things like that. So essentially, you're still using these networks, right?
Yeah.
Or these feeder sites.
So these feeder sites sort of have two operations. One is that they're sort of a shield. So if I know, because you can't help yourself, you're going to start spamming these damn things, right? So in your case, where you're very aggressive and you're just trying to run an experiments and stuff, I mean, part of it is because you get ROI on making mistakes with SEO, because then you learn and then you can help your clients, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But so what you're doing is, number one, you've got a protective element there. But number two, you can go out and create relevant sites in your industry, like a review site or a little micro niche site with an ebook on or something, and then those become inbound links to your main domain.
Exactly. The theory is to never create a link that doesn't pay for itself. And so these links are advertising for your site and giving you link juice. And these feeder sites, go and use the more, well, in my opinion, go and use the more gray hat techniques, the automated stuff, the submissions and stuff, 10,000 directory submissions, whatever. Because if you lose this site, it's not a big deal. It's like, oh crap, there goes, $100, $200, but it's not your brand.
Right.
You don't have to restart it.
All right, so now let's do a little bit of complicated technique that's working well for you, and it's interesting, especially for the people that are the gray hatters out there that are pushing things. And we've used this technique as well and seen it to work. So it's called the 301 link building technique, and you've got the coffee filter metaphor. So I'm assuming this is a pretty advanced show, so people probably know what the 301 is. That's passing on link juice from a dead domain, or you're basically killing off the domain and passing it on.
The 301's telling Google, like, my site has moved to this new site to redirect. Or like you moved a page to a new page, you're just telling Google, move all the link juice, all the authority, all the rankings to this new page.
Okay, so now this is relevant in a lot of situations, but one is when your site gets penalized, right?
Exactly.
Because you want to basically, your Google is like, your domain is total crap and shuts you down. And now you got to do something because you can't build that site back up. You have to go to another place. So how would you do that?
The 301, well, okay, for that, you have to start your new domain and you have to basically pad it for protection from the penalty. So the vast majority of these penalties now are the simple anchor text being wrong. You've optimized for your keyword too much. So your new domain, you go and pad it with these naked URL links without keywords, some legitimate links, get some high PR. If you can get white hat links, get those.
Now, why even bother doing the 301 redirect? I guess because you've got traffic coming to your old domain kind of thing?
Traffic, or more just say you've built a site with like lots of great content, but now it's not ranking for anything. You don't want to start over with that content. Or you have built lots of links to the old one. If you transfer it to the new one and pad the new site right with good links, the penalty won't transfer, and you get a lot of your rankings back.
If there's somebody out there that's been decimated, they got a site and they're listening to this and they hear Travis and it's like maybe the clouds are parting a little bit. At this moment in time, how would you consult somebody? Would you say you can rebuild that trash domain, or would you 301 it to a new one and build up a whole new domain?
There's not a great answer for this. It's up to you. Look at your analytics. A lot of these sites that are penalized still get okay traffic through the long tails. I've had a site that I completely bombed out on my major keywords, but my traffic only dropped like 20 or 30%. It's not worth it for me to do that.
Right.
And also, those sites that got penalized, if you build out new pages, like from your blog, they generally come out not penalized.
Yeah, this happened to us with the Portable Bar Company in the beginning. We got penalized, but we still get traffic to that site, and it is from our long tail key terms. We got bombed out for our number one key term, which was Portable Bar at the time.
Yeah, so if you have a site that's been penalized, build out new pages in that and try to rank those, and they will quickly. And if that's not working, then go ahead and 301 redirect.
So any other thing, you're doing some 301 link building as well. Tell us how that works.
Yeah, this is working really well now. We don't know in the future. So, but
writing's on the wall. Okay.
Yeah. But
let's hear about it.
For this is a technique for a lot of the more gray hat automated link building techniques. If you're going to build something spammy, or even like some of the big networks, something like that you're worried about to your brand, what I would do is set up a separate website. If you can get like a high PR domain or something like that, even better. Set up a separate website, put on a few pages of content related to your niche, and send out lots of links. I do this with thousands and thousands of links to these pages. Let those links index, build up some authority, and then 301 redirect that to your money site that you're wanting to build on. And the 301 redirects like it's like, how do I describe it? Like a coffee filter. So the coffee filter would let a lot of the link juice through, and while keeping out most of the bad. And so it's a filter to protect your site. You can still spam it while protecting it from a lot of penalties. And if you do end up getting a penalty, you can remove the 301 redirect, and most of the time the penalty will go away.
That's Travis Jamison, everybody, reserving the right to spam, or standing up for your right to spam. Hey, Travis, are you willing to stick around to the quick tips portion of the show?
Absolutely.
Of course. Nice. All right, so you've got a great tip for us about reputation management. One of the biggest things that you talked about is like, you know, because one of the things you're just so good at is this like search and destroy SEO. That's what I call it. I love it. It's like, hey, I got an idea. I got to go to Travis and see if he can help me rank really fast, test it, get some cash flow going, and then double down and invest in that brand. So when you've got that brand idea, because of course, like you can't build a business off of a bunch of 301 redirects.
Correct.
That's just a tactic.
Absolutely.
So when we decide that we're going to have Supremacy SEO brand or whatever, you're going to go to, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to start?
All right. One of the examples I gave during the speech, I guess we can say, is you need to protect your brand using reputation management techniques. And the way I do this is to go to knowem.com.
Okay, so that's KNOWEM.
Yeah, .com. And they will set up all these social media profiles for you. You don't want somebody who's mad at you going and setting up your business name on a profile and then putting bad reviews on there. So you can go up and they'll set up like your Facebook, your Twitter, which you should have anyway, but all these other little ones that you wouldn't, like the Tumblr sites, the Flickr, the Pinterest, stuff like that. And they will set these up for you, and those will start. One, it'll help you rank because those are good links that everybody should have for a site. All legitimate sites should have these.
Right.
But it also protects your brand because these will get authority. If something bad pops up on your brand, you can use these sites to outrank that.
I love this idea, and this is something you talked about was like outranking. So somebody like they leave a bad comment for you on one of these sites, and like you have the ability to control it now. And so this is essentially what good PR companies would do for you, right?
Exactly.
They go out there and they'd own whatever your brand is, so no one else can tarnish it except for you.
Exactly.
Right?
In my opinion, you should own everything with your brand because you created it. You don't want some affiliates or some other spammers going in there and stealing your traffic.
And you take this stuff to the whole next level, setting up review sites and multiple Facebook profiles and all this kind of stuff. I mean, this Knowem tool, this is just the beginning, right? This is sort of squatting on a broad range of social, like a blogger account, a Twitter account, Facebook, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you're actually taking this whole stuff to the next level where you're out there sort of getting in front of your brand on the internet.
If I don't do it, somebody else will. Because I do create my own brand stuff, and I don't want people having my own keywords. That's mine. They shouldn't have it. And then also using these Knowem profiles, you can build more legitimate things. I go and use Hootsuite to set up, integrate with all these profiles, and I can start pushing legitimate content out to these, like the Tumblr and whatnot.
Right.
Getting real traffic, getting much better links, and protecting your brand all at the same time.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, Travis, it's such a pleasure for you to fly basically halfway around the world to be with us here at the Aloft in Bangkok. It's been an amazing event.
Yeah, I think everybody's brains are on the wall from this conversation with you, Travis. I think this has been really cool to get the inside scoop on the SEO. We were doing this talk a year ago in Bali. Now we're doing it in Bangkok.
Yeah.
I wonder where we're going to do it next year.
And we'll keep going up and up and up. So, as a tribute to Travis, on today's episode, we're gonna play us out with "We Got Scientists." Rules don't stop me, and rules definitely don't stop Mr. Jamison or the boss.
some guy like Ian comes up to you and just wants to buy your soul, it's sort of hard. It's hard to say no, you know.